Says the meeting is now streaming live. So I'll welcome you all to what month is this? The April meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the town of Tecumseh. See, everyone is in attendance, so we're in good shape there. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest from any of the members? Seeing none. Minutes will be dealt with at the next meeting. So the first application is for minor variance on Cortina Crescent. Donna?
Application for minor variance A2221, Peter and Kathleen Coyles, 1527 Cortina Crescent. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 7.1.5, which establishes a maximum lot coverage of 30%. The applicant is proposing to construct a 24.5 square meter, 264 square foot accessory structure, resulting in 34% lot coverage. The subject property is designated residential in the town of Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential 2 in R220 in the Tecumseh zoning bylaw. The following is the comments received with respect to the application from our various agencies. As part of the building permit process, the owner will be required to provide details on how runoff from the proposed addition will be controlled to prevent it from flowing onto neighboring properties to satisfy the chief building official. That's from the town engineer. No comments from building, no comments from fire services, and Essex Region Conservation Authority has no comments or no objection to the application. I also received a telephone call from one of the neighboring property owners today, and they have no concerns whatsoever with respect to the application.
Okay, good. Thank you, Donna. Peter, is it Peter that's with us tonight? You can turn your camera on.
Yes, I'm
There
here.
you are. And your microphone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, perfect.
At this point, I usually ask the proponent if they have anything they'd like to add that didn't appear in the application that you'd like the committee to know about.
Not really, no. The only thing was I just heard about the issue in terms of runoff and water flow. And last year, we ended up having to have the backyard, the rear drain done again. So I'll have to take a look at and again, how this, because it is a little bit of larger and it does creep onto that rear yard drain. Well, basically the swale where the rear yard drain would be. So I'll have to take a look at how I'm going to have to deal with that issue in regards to getting it back to you guys for all the details.
Yeah, I think that's one of the committees, one of the recommendations to the committee that you satisfy the building department about the drainage and on the property.
Right. Yeah, and like I say, this is the first I've heard of that information. So I'll get that to you guys as fast as I possibly can.
Okay. Well, we don't need it tonight, I don't think, as long as you're aware that there will be that condition.
Okay.
Committee have any questions for Peter? Tom?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. A couple of questions. First to administration. The rear yard and side yard setbacks, this application complies with the 5 and the 4? Or is it more generous than what's required?
Is that coming to me?
Yes.
Okay, so the backyard, it's the backyard corner. So if I'm looking at the actual rear property line, the right hand, the fence, so that would be the west fence, I believe. It doesn't run 90 degrees. So basically what we were going to do was run the building parallel to the back property line, which would run at a 4-foot variance there. So 4 foot from the property line there. And then the rear corner, so it'd be I guess that would be the southwest corner. would be 5 feet from the property line, and then because it doesn't run parallel, it would be a little bit more than 5 feet in the front of the building.
Okay, and then to Chad, that conforms with the setbacks there?
Yes, so you, Mr. Chair, it complies with the zoning bylaw, which establishes a 4-foot setback for accessory structures of that size.
Okay, and then I think I know the reason why that you want the shed a little larger, but maybe perhaps the applicant can just justify in his own words why you need a shed as big as the one that you're proposing.
Well, so we have a 10 by 10 shed in the back now that you can barely put the lawnmower in. And I guess like everything else, we have a 2-car garage as well, which we use as pretty much a 7/8 of a garage. So really what we're trying to do is we were going to try and put another shed up on the property and thought this isn't really going to work. 2 sheds, it doesn't really look right. And technically it really doesn't set properly. So we thought if we do, let's try to put the application in, let's do it properly. Let's do everything that we're supposed to do, just because we didn't really want to be totally honest, we really didn't want to kind of tick the neighbors off by going, okay, well, you got one over here, and then you got another one over here, and you got this over here. Rather than do all that, we're just trying to reorganize, trying to re-get everything set. And it just seemed like the better of the 2 options that we thought we had on the table. You know, we were debating on the 12 by 20 or a 12 by 18. This one just seemed to fit everything right. And then when we talked to the builder, he was more along the lines, he already had that set. He had those plans already set out. So that was the reason we kind of chose the one we did. And kind of the reason why we were kind of doing it in the first place. We really didn't want to make it look like we had all these little lean-to kind of sheds and whatever all over the place. I just didn't think it would look right.
And so the existing shed is not going to be there. You're going to have one shed.
Yeah, that's going to be gone. Absolutely, that's going to be gone.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have a question? Lori?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you through you to administration, specifically to Ms. Ferris. Ms. Ferris, you indicated that there was a resident that gave you a call either today or recently. Can you identify for us the address or the proximity of the caller to the subject site?
I think that was for Peter.
Oh, is it me?
No, it's for me. It's
Yeah,
1529 Cortina.
Just to confirm for the record, the subject property is 1527.
7.
Okay, so right next door.
Yes.
So so further to that, Mr. Chair, through you again to Ms. Ferris, any correspondence received from any of the adjacent properties to the rear, specifically 1546?
No additional correspondence or communications with any of the other neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Tony?
I guess, Mr. Chair, the question would be more for Chad. Are you aware of any other variances that were done in that area? Looking at the air photo, it seems like a lot of those properties be almost at that 30% limit. With the applicant here being at a 4% variance for such as, I'll say what I would say almost a small shed, it seems like all those other properties would basically be right at that limit as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I am not aware of any that we've done. That's not to say that we haven't granted variances for lot coverage in that area. But I do acknowledge that they're smaller lots in some cases, and they're already near the peak lot coverage. So it's not, it's not a surprise that we're getting a request for a variance to allow for that to exceed the 30%.
Okay. There's no one else online about this application. Are there any further questions? Just want to make sure there's no further questions. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion then? Tony,
Through Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we accept application A2221 in light of the what I would call almost basically as a smaller size lot, and with other properties adjacent to this having detached structures as well. And basically it also meets the 4 test, in my opinion. I will make a motion that we accept this application.
supported by Tom. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks very much, Peter. You've been successful, Peter. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, I'm having some trouble with the pooch, so.
Okay, no problem.
So I just have one question for you. Do you need anything else from me today?
No,
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and thanks again.
you're welcome. Okay, so Andrew is online. The zonies can turn themselves on. There we go. Okay, Donna,
Application for minor variance A2321, Robert and Bilana Uzoni, 12431 Meander Crescent. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 5.25.2C, which establishes the minimum side yard width for private outdoor swimming pools on a corner lot where the side yard butts a public street shall be 4 meters, 13.1 feet. The applicant is proposing to install an in-ground swimming pool 2.2 meters, 7.5 feet from the westerly lot line. The subject property is designated residential in the town of Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential R1 in the Tecumseh zoning bylaw. The following are the comments from agencies and administration. No comments from engineering, no comments from building, no comments from fire services, and IRCA has no objection to the minor variance.
okay, thank you, Donna. Robert or Bijana, you want to have a word about what might not be known by the committee members?
No, I don't think we have anything else.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Daniel,
Thank you, Chair. Through you, if I can ask administration, what is the current setback if the house was not on the corner from the lot line?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if it wasn't on the lot line, it would be treated as an accessory structure, which would require it to be 4 feet from the lot line if it was in an interior lot.
So the question is because it's on the corner, it needs a greater distance. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's simply because the main dwelling requires a larger exterior side yard when there's a corner lot involved, and that's so that you can keep a fairly even setback along the streetscape, so you don't have homes jutting out at corner lot situation. So if you have like a 25-foot front yard for all the homes, and then the corner lot's allowed to go 4 feet from the lot line on the corner, it would not make for a very pleasant looking streetscape. So it'd be an inconsistent setback. Because the main dwelling is required to be set back in a corner lot situation for the exterior side yard, the same sort of increased or enhanced setback applies to a swimming pool.
Thank you.
any other questions? Thomas,
Just a question to Chad, through you, Mr. Chair. I assume that this pool, are we showing the water or is there concrete around the pool? And then that question is, so if there is concrete around the pool, I just looking at the neighbors, there's a lot of pavement there. And I just wonder what, is there some sort of stipulation on the square footage of pavement in the backyard in terms of how you manage stormwater and what impact that has?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's no zoning provision pertaining to that, but indirectly there's a requirement for a minimum of 30% landscaped open space, which the subject property meets. So indirectly, there's that provision that regulates the amount of space that can be covered by hard surface. So yeah, but there's nothing other than that, Mr. Chair.
So landscaping is different than hard surface.
And Mr. Chair, through you, it depends. Decorative landscaping counts, decorative hard surfaces count toward your landscape space. But things such as driveways and walkways and that sort of thing doesn't count toward your landscaped open space.
Okay, thank you.
Daniel, did I see you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to further Tom's question, so the drawing, is that showing the actual pool and then the concrete's going to go around it as well? Or is that the concrete part of the 4-foot setback that they're asking for?
I guess, Andrew, that might be a question for you.
Yeah, so basically we've got, from the property line, there's 4 feet to the cement. So you got there your 3.5-foot concrete apron around the pool, 4 feet from the cement on the street side. And then on the rear of the property, you're looking at 2 feet from the cement to the property line. And then the idea was to have, some additional drainage to collect the groundwater and divert it away from the abutting properties.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so the fence that there would remain in place, I guess, eh?
Correct.
Any other questions? Somebody want to make a motion? Daniel,
Yeah, I make a motion to accept the application as presented, A2321 at the address of 12431 Meander Crescent. It is a minor variance in the respect that, because he is on a corner lot, I don't think that the in-ground pool should be penalized because it doesn't meet the side yard setback that he's looking or required. And therefore, I do feel it is minor in variance, and I would approve the application.
supported by Paul? All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much for your attendance. Committee's decided in favor.
Okay, great.
So you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Have a great day. Thanks a lot. Okay, close it up. We
Okay,
go. Awesome.
okay, Mark Tarangelo, you're next. There you are, like magic. Yeah, except you gotta unmute your mic.
Is my
Yeah.
hair okay?
Yeah, the connection is still messy.
Yeah, I don't know. It must obviously be my end. Cogeco.
Coach goes good out
Are
here
we
in the
there?
country, so. Okay, Donna, let's try this.
Application for minor
I thought I
variance,
was
eight
in the country.
2421 Mark Taranjo, 844 Les Bronx Road. The purpose of the application is to request relief from the following subsections of zoning bylaws 1746. Subsection 5.251 DI, which establishes that accessory buildings in residential zones shall not exceed 10% of the total lot area or 90 square meters in area, whichever is the lesser, and no individual accessory building or structure shall exceed 70 square meters in area. And subsection 7.1.5, which establishes the maximum lot coverage as 30%. The applicant is requesting relief to construct a 93.6 square meter, 1,008 square foot accessory building, resulting in 35% lot coverage. The subject property is designated residential in the Town of Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential R2 in the Tecumseh zoning bylaw. The comments received from agencies and internal departments are as follows. Engineering, as part of the building permit process, the owner will be required to provide details on how runoff from the proposed building will be controlled to prevent it from flowing onto neighboring properties to the satisfaction of the chief building official. The building department, in order to prevent stormwater runoff from adversely affecting the abutting property, a satisfactory grading and drainage plan from a qualified person will be required before the issuance of a permit in accordance with the town's grading, filling, dumping, and topsoil removal bylaw. No comments received from fire services, and Essex Region Conservation Authority has no objection to the application.
Okay, thank you very much. Mark, is there anything you would like to add? Hopefully we'll be able to hear you. Is there anything you'd like to add that the committee needs to know about?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess what that obviously is, it's a rental property. It's a two-story. I know that seems like a large garage, but the tenants, you know, would each have parking. We have a lot of materials like for providing, what do you call that? Providing the furniture and the appliances and everything. And if somebody moves in and they have theirs or they don't, so we store that. I don't know, I guess that's about it. We also have property in Mexico that we spend winters in, and it'd be nice to have somewhere to park our own vehicle. At some point, our plan is to move there to the lower unit in 5 years. And in the meantime, I'd like to have a garage, and I'd have the process of writing it off for that period. So it's just a plan for a garage, I guess.
Okay.
Hello?
Any committee members have questions? Lori?
I don't
Thank you,
think
Mr.
it's
Chair. A question to the
Can you hear
applicant.
me?
Yeah, we heard you.
Yeah, we can hear you. A
Sorry.
question through the chair to you, Mr. Taranjo, is related to, I mean, you touched on it just slightly. I just want to confirm some of my thoughts and questions when reviewing your application. Definitely the accessory structure is quite large and in scale, not only to the size of the lot, but also to the size of the dwelling and for the surrounding properties. So I did want to ask you about, you touched on the reasoning, you touched on your, say, purpose for the size of the structure, but my question is in relation to, were you able to work within, or maybe not were you able to, tell me if you can work within the limits of the zoning bylaw. Would the minimum suit your needs if you were to say not be approved tonight? In other words, could you work
Would I
within?
still build a garage? Would I still build a garage? Is that what you're asking?
Mr. Chair, it's very
Would
choppy
I
on my end.
still build the structure? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
Is sort of. So in other words, why are you not able to work within the 90 square meter
Let me, I'm
maximum?
gonna try and unplug my speakers here. Okay.
Chair?
Well, no garage is ever big enough, according to my brother. He has 32 by 28 garage. It's full. I think if
Okay,
are you able to hear me?
no, we're not able to hear you well enough really to understand what you're saying. So,
Mr. Chair,
yeah,
sorry to interject here. Sometimes when you shut the video off, the audio will come through more clearly. I'm not sure
Okay.
it's always the case, but sometimes that happens.
Okay, let me try. Thanks for that suggestion, Chad. Is that better?
so far,
That is good.
I feel better not being seen anyways. No. Where's my mask? All right. So I think Lori, were you asking me would I still build a garage?
Yes and no. So I think that really the intent of my question is, why are you not able to work within the limits of the zoning regulations as written? So in other words, 90 square meter maximum and 30% lot coverage maximum. So what is it that prevented you from working within the limits? Could you work within the limits should you not be approved tonight?
It's funny, you know, we've been working on this for like 7 years, and I almost got invited to Donna's for Christmas. That's how much we've bonded over the last 7 years. So we've talked about all kinds of different structures and everything, and it's always been confusing to me with the criterias, as having talked with Jeff quite extensively one night. I don't get all those numbers and everything like that, and I guess I'm not supposed to, but no, not that I'm not supposed to, but I just don't get it all. I look at that structure, and I don't know if anybody's been there, but when we bought that house for the kids, for somewhere to live. They were coming back from Korea. We never ever have any intentions of selling that house. So each of my daughters have lived there for 5 years at a time. My other daughter just moved out, and now we're obviously into new tenants and everything like that. What we're looking for is retiring in that home at some point in a 5-year plan. And I just want a structure ahead of time, obviously, that I can write off and to utilize. I have a trailer, I have a boat, our tenants have a trailer, they have parking. You know, you do kibitzing in the garage, I guess, at 66. So I look at it this way too. If you're going to build it right. The rest of that property serves no real purpose to me. And even in the future, my kids will never sell that property, I think, because it's a supplement to their income as it is to me on my pension.
Lori?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So further to that, my thoughts surrounding this application is that the hardship is, to me, not there. And the scale of the accessory structure in relation to the site and in relation to the surrounding properties is what conflicts me in reviewing this. I find that it's very difficult for me to be convinced that it is minor in nature and meets the 4 tests when we look at the intent of the official plan and the intent of the zoning bylaw. In other words, what is the intent of lot coverage? What is the intent of maximum square footage for accessory structures? So these are the arguments that I look to when reviewing applications. So I'm going to leave that for now, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to highlight some of my concerns and some of my questions. Just a last question, if we could, although I'm sure Ms. Ferris would have indicated, have we received any correspondence from any surrounding properties? And that's it for me, Mr. Chair.
No, Lori, we haven't received any comments whatsoever.
Okay, anybody else? Tom?
Now that we've got better audio. And further to Lori's questions through you, Mr. Chair, maybe to the applicant, Mr. Tourangeau, maybe you can elaborate on, like, can you make do with a building that is that conforms with the square footage requirement?
Can I make do? Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna say no. That would be crazy, I guess, because I guess, we're gonna put a garage there somewhere, somehow. But if I always feel there's two ways of doing it. There's the right way and then there's somebody else's way. What I consider to be the right way is obviously, if you're gonna build it, like I said, my brother has that size of garage and we look at it and it's too small. He's just here on Argent. Your garage is never big enough. Other than that, that property is set up with the two decks, one for each tenant. They've just been built, or that has just been built. I just get excited about the size of the garage. That makes sense. Did I answer that?
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I was rambling.
Chad, I would like to ask you a question about this. We keep hearing about the tenants. So is this a multi-use zoning on this property?
There are two existing legal units on the property, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have said that, but
Anybody else have a question? Tony?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess my question would be for Chad. Chad, I was reading your planning report today, and it says that the landscape open space would actually be deficient as well. So are we also doing a variance for the landscape open space here?
Through the chair to you, Tony, so it wasn't something that was asked for in the application, and it's a difficult thing to ascertain using the air photo, but we did our best at trying to determine what the lot coverage, or so the maximum landscape open space would be with that size of garage, and it appears to fall within the range of 28.5%. So it fails to meet the minimum of 30% established in the bylaw. So yeah, it would need relief from that as well.
I've also asked, Dowie, if there was talk that we were going to be able to like buy the alley. I don't know if that's still, and that would be a huge thing for us as well, because there would be another, if we were able to take off the whole alley. But anyways, that's just something down the road. I guess it doesn't have anything to do with this, unless there's been a decision made to sell that alley.
From what I hear, and I'm not speaking with any authority, but I wouldn't hold my breath if I were you.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else have a question? So we have an application for a garage that services two dwellings. Now, is that contemplated in the multi-use zoning on the property, that the garage could be bigger?
I'm assuming that's for me, Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So no, it's not contemplated or expressed in the zoning bylaw. Those two units have a legal non-conforming status, and that they were established legally a long time ago. It's zoned R2, which permits only a single unit dwelling, but they are legal units. So to your question directly, no, there's no separate provision for a semi in terms of the size of the accessory structure, but that should weigh into consideration over size. In my report, I noted that it's the 10% rule that applies to this property because it's smaller than an average size property in the area. It's roughly 5,800 square feet, which means that you can have a maximum of 580 square feet of accessory structures, as opposed to the 90 square meters. But But given that there are 2 units and presumably there would be a need for greater space, storage space, place to park the cars for the tenants, there is justification for something larger than the 580 square feet that would comply with the bylaw. However, as I noted in my report, I think it's going a bit too far, and it fails, in my opinion, failed to meet those tests at 1,008 square feet.
Well, it strikes me we're faced with being put in the position of expanding a non-conforming use, a legal non-conforming use, by allowing amenities in other parts of the zoning bylaw for it. But anyway, Daniel? No? Okay. I'm too quick. Sometimes I'm too slow and sometimes I'm too quick.
I know how you feel.
Anybody else have a question? Anybody want to bite the bullet and make a motion? No, you can't, Mark. Sorry. Turn your camera off again. Lori. Oh, hang on. Chad?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and sorry for interjecting there, Lori. A bit unorthodox, but I have had a number of conversations with Mr. Tecumseh regarding this. And I think that there's a proposal that would suit his needs and would also be able to better satisfy the 4 tests. So without prejudicing the decision of the committee or any motion that's coming forward, that there's an option that he could go back to the drawing board with another proposal at a future meeting. Just wanted to put that out there before a done deal.
So if we were going to go down that road, it would be appropriate for Mr. Taranjo to say he'd like to defer our decision. He'd like us to defer our decision until he can speak with administration about that.
So has my proposal been turned down, or is this just, oh, I'm sorry.
No, it hasn't been turned down.
Okay, sorry.
We're about to accept a motion on it. But if you think it's going to be turned down, and you heard Mr. Jeffrey talk about maybe there's another solution, and you'd like to pursue that, it's appropriate for you to ask for a deferral to our next meeting to give you time to talk to administration about that.
So do I have to do this before it's possibly turned down?
Yes.
Oh, this is like The Price is Right.
Right.
I'll take curtain number 2.
Okay, you just hang on a sec, because we're going to give Lori a chance to speak. She's raising her hand impatiently.
Sure.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a question on the semantics of that. In other words, if it's a different application, but on the same property, would we not be should we not be accepting a new application and making a decision on this one? To Mr. Jeffrey.
Well, the reason to talk about a deferral, if the proponent wants to modify the application based on what he's heard, we've done that before. I don't see why we wouldn't do it again. Are you challenging my ruling? Because I'm prepared to ask the committee, the committee has to approve a deferral. He can only ask for it, he can't require it. And he's talking about door number 2, and I'm not sure what that means yet.
Well, hopefully that's the grand prize. Gee, that seems, I'm not going to obviously ask for change on unless we have another meeting, but I would have thought that I could have got at least, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I turn it down, if I take the deferral, I would rather have this particular garage. But I mean, I'm going to have a garage one way or the other. So what will the deferral do for me? Like, in other words, do I get an option now, or do I have to?
I think what it would do for you is that if you want to modify your application, based, if the neighbors were here and talking to you about it, and the neighbor said, we would accept this, but not that, then it would be appropriate for you to modify your proposal. And we would give you time to do that. In this case, it's not your neighbor. You're getting a sense from the committee about how they're gonna deal with this. And Mr. Jeffrey has given you an indication that maybe he has an idea about something that is less of a problem. And so you can ask for a deferral, speak with him about that. If we have to recirculate because what your changes are significant, we'll have to recirculate it. But I'm hoping that we can do it without requiring another funding from the Committee of Justice for the hearing.
Yeah, so am I, obviously.
So if you think that the thing is going to be turned down, or that the committee is leaning that way, or you don't have a good feeling about it, and you want to get a chance to talk to administration about how you could modify it, it may still require an application. So you either hope that the committee is going to help you with this one, or you want to defer it and see how you'd modify it to make it more palatable for the committee. It's your choice. You
Obviously.
can at any time ask for a deferral. And then the committee will say, do they want to defer it or not? So,
And I can't get a deferral after the vote.
no, once the vote's taken, it's taken.
So. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, Sean, we need the music.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I know Chad had actually, somewhat explained that to me, and I was trying to touch base with him on if I go on a deferral, and I don't want to hold everybody up, I'm sorry. If I go on to a deferral, like, I don't know that I have a basis, like I don't really have a plan, or what am I going to be, what do I work off of? Do I work off of 800 square feet or
I can't help you with that.
I'm sorry?
I said, I can't help you with that. I don't know what Chad has in mind. I haven't spoken to him about this. He says there's a possible solution, but you may not like it either.
Yeah.
So
Do we discuss this
take your
solution?
chances with the committee. We'll talk about it right now.
I'm getting dry mouth. Sorry. Do we discuss this, Chad, now, or your suggest, or sorry?
No,
Oh,
you talk to him tomorrow or sometime, make an appointment and see him.
I tried to do that this week, but it must have been.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so I don't hear you asking for a deferral. So what's the committee want to do with this? Lori? Lori, yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Well, so I spoke earlier about the four tests to a minor variance, and for reasons that are, to me, in other words, the tests themselves is what I look to, and believing that the intent of the zoning bylaw and official plan are not met in this circumstance, that the proposal is not in line with the character of the neighborhood. And for those reasons, I move to deny the application as presented tonight. So that is application for minor variance 8-24/21.
Seconder, please. Thomas. Sorry, Chris. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of that motion?
I defer. No.
Opposed? Carried. Sorry, Mike, you still don't get to vote. Okay. So you've heard that. If you want to pursue something else, talk to Chad about it. Or Donna. I think I've cut your work out for you Ted.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I've been discussing this for 7 years with Donna, so we're almost related. I guess I'll move on to Chad. So whatever I do now to move forward, other than the size that is allowed, which is 500 square feet or something. So I have to make a whole nother application, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I should have took door number 1. No, I know. So it's
That's the
shot
way the
down.
rules are, so.
Pardon me?
So that's the way the rules are, so.
No, I understand. Of course, we have to have rules. All right, so we're shot down, right?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Okay, thanks, guys. Ladies, gentlemen.
Okay, next we have Rutland Road. Mr. Fullerton and Mr. Selesky. There's Warren
I'm on,
and there's Daniel. Okay,
and Dan is on.
okay, Donna.
Application for minor variance, Warren Fullerton and Linda Semitic, 157 Rutland Road. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 5.19.1 DI of zoning bylaw 2065, which establishes that accessory buildings in residential zones shall not exceed 10% of the total lot area or 90 square meters, 969 square feet in area, whichever is the lesser, and no individual accessory building or structure shall exceed 70 square meters, 753 square feet in area. The applicant is requesting relief to construct a 92.3 square meter, 993 square foot accessory building. The subject property is designated residential in the Town of Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential R2 in the St. Clair Beach zoning bylaw. The following comments are received. The town engineer, no comments with respect to the requested minor variance. However, the issue of ingress and egress is this site during times of flooding should be reviewed with the Tecumseh Fire Department and the Essex Region Conservation Authority. Building Department, in order to prevent stormwater runoff from adversely affecting the abutting property, a satisfactory grading and drainage plan from a qualified person will be required before the issuance of a permit in accordance with the town's grading, filling, dumping, and topsoil removal bylaw. No concerns related to safe access during flood events from fire services. Essex Region Conservation Authority, the above noted lands are subject to our development, interference in wetlands, and alterations to shorelines and watercourses regulations under the Conservation Authority Act. The parcel falls within the regulated area of Lake St. Clair. The property owner will be required to obtain a permit from Essex Region Conservation Authority prior to any construction or site alteration or other activities affected by Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act.
Okay, again, I don't know which of you wants to speak?
Let
Is there
me
anything
speak
else
first,
that the
and then
committee
I'll-
should hear?
Yeah, let me speak first, and then I'll turn it over to Dan. Dan is
Okay.
our architect and has done detailed plans on this. The proposal originally was to have a significantly larger structure than is before the committee today. We were going to have a second floor with an artist's studio upstairs, but we've scaled that back substantially. Really what we're looking for here is we have an existing garage that is little more than a shack that was probably built 50 or 60 years ago. It's a one-car garage. We're looking to go to a two-car garage with an expansion from the existing pad of about 100 square feet, 10 by 10. So we're not looking for a major expansion here. We have a very large lot. The lot is about 250 feet deep. So, you know, we're going to put up an attractive structure, and frankly, it's going to be used as a two-car garage, and maybe sometimes once in a while it's a man cave where I'm going to watch some football. That's it.
So what is the new height?
Dan?
Yeah, the new height falls underneath the 15-foot bylaw. So we were originally trying to use the roof space to create the home is relatively, I wouldn't call it small, but it's not as large as most homes. And they were looking for some amenity space with an artist studio and trying to use the roof area to do such. But like Warren said, in terms of cutback, in terms of trying to keep the scale, they're very sensitive to the scale of the neighborhood and so forth. And I think the bottom line here is that we had some issues with IRCA asking us to raise the property, raise the garage, and we didn't want to raise it either because of the owner's sensitivity to scale. So this is a compromise that, the only thing we're asking for is a slight relief in area. And you can see by the neighboring properties that this home falls well short of occupying its lot as compared to the two adjacent properties. So for 100 square feet to gain more modern practicality is what we're asking for.
So the actual, it's 100 additional square feet from what I,
At a maximum, yeah, it'll probably have to be slightly under that. I think, again, IRCA is asked that if they've made a compromise that if we can keep it to 50% of its existing size, so at 544 square feet, we're looking to, maximize the size to, about 815 square feet, and the bylaw allows 753, I believe. So we're under 100 square feet, actually.
okay. Committee's got all that? Any questions? Tony?
Through you, Mr. Chair, my question would be for the applicant. I was out at the site yesterday and I noticed the orange nail in the hydro pole at the front. Have you already received the IRCA permit, and is that orange nail the elevation that has been set by IRCA for that structure?
I believe that is the elevation. Well, I'm not sure if it's the elevation for the structure, but it has something to do with their requirement. So, I'm a little vague.
Yeah, I can answer that for
We
you.
don't have the IRCA permit yet, but we're aware that we have to get a permit from IRCA in order to go ahead with this.
Yeah, so Tony, this compromise in area and reducing the area and lowering the structure is what IRCA is allowing us to proceed with, and not having to raise the entire structure by it's almost 2 feet in height. So even if you guys would have allowed us to increase the height as well as the size, IRCA would not have allowed us to without raising the entire structure 2 feet, and the owners just don't want to do that. Hence the compromise in size that we are presenting today. And so I have a verbal agreement with IRCA that if we can stay under that 50% area increase, they will allow us to keep the existing slab of the garage at its existing height.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Lori?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question to the applicant or representative about the use. So accessory in nature, and understanding that there may be some other activities taking place in the accessory structure. Can you confirm, however, that it will not be a dwelling unit? So this is simply accessory in nature?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
absolutely not.
Nobody's going to be living in that unit.
Okay, so not a dwelling unit.
No,
Okay,
it's not
and
a
then,
dwelling unit.
okay, and a question to administration, to Ms. Ferris, just to confirm, any word from any adjacent property owners?
No, we've received no comments from surrounding property owners, either verbally or in writing.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation. And just lastly, some thoughts on the actual property. It is quite sizable and is able to, I believe, mitigate some of the visual impacts and mitigate some of the, impacts to adjacent properties, in keeping with the intent of the purpose of the lot coverage and purpose of the maximum square footage. So I guess that height, the question, we talked about height as well. So I am understanding all aspects of this application. But that's it for now, Mr. Chair, until a vote's presented.
Anybody else? Chris?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to administration. Just looking at the report of the application, is the proposed size of the accessory structure being proposed now on this call different than the original application? The 800 and something square feet that was referenced by Daniel, I think. I thought the report stated it was 900 and something. Has something changed? Does anything have to be amended on the application? Just so that we're reviewing the appropriate proposed variance.
Well, I was informed through some calls with IRCA late last week that in order for us to get to that 900 and whatever that number was that we originally had,
969.
969 for ground coverage, that we would have to raise the entire floor structure to the 100-year flood level of, and which is about almost 24 inches higher than it is currently. And again, due to the sensitivities of scale with the existing home, and again, the owners are taking a very unselfish approach to making sure that the structure fits into the property as it stands. We decided to reduce the size in order for IRCA to allow us to keep the structure lower, and they found other alternatives to gain amenity space in property that's in town that they're going to be using instead. So it's basically a compromise for the owner, and they decided to do so.
Okay, so to be clear, you're asking that the application be amended to eliminate the height request.
Yep.
And to ask for oversize to the amount of 850 square feet.
815, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, since it's considerably smaller than less invasive as the original application was, I don't think we need to redo it. We just accept those changes and go from there. Tom?
Yes, through your Mr. Chair, to the applicant, you said that this is not going to be another dwelling at any point in time. Is there plumbing, bathroom, and sink and shower of that amenity?
Originally, we were thinking about that, but no, under the new proposal, no, there's no plumbing.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Chad, am I okay to accept this changes?
So Chair, I believe the committee has the discretion to do that. It was my understanding that the building footprint was going to remain the same, only the height was reduced, but having heard Mr. Selesky talk about the revised proposal tonight, I now understand that they're looking at something even less significant than originally proposed in terms of lot area or building area. So my comments stand, and in fact, it's even more supportable from a planning standpoint in meeting the 4 tests.
Yeah, and IRCA apologized to me on Friday. They said, we should have, talked this through a little further, but I just found this out on Friday, so.
Well, it's better than finding out about it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the motion should include simply be that that the application be approved in the amount of accessory building at 850 square feet, 850, Daniel?
815 is IRCA's is maximum size. So if you want to call it 820, whatever, I think, we're going to be
815, okay.
Okay.
In the amount of 815 square feet.
That's fine.
So somebody want to make that motion? Paul. And supported by Tony, okay. All in favor? Opposed, carried, okay. You're good to go.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Warren.
bye-bye.
You made it a little easier for us.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. So next is St. Pierre. Caitlin McCarran. What? Oh, Mike? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Right, and I'm trying to see Mike D'Anunzio. He wasn't on my list, so. You're here for this?
Pardon?
I'm talking to Mike. You're here for this, neighbor or?
Yep, neighbor.
Okay. All right, we'll hear from you in a minute. Donna.
Application for minor variance, A2621, Caitlin McCarroll, 837 St. Pierre Street. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 7.1.10A of zoning bylaw 1746, which establishes that the minimum side yard width on an interior or through lot is 1.2 meters, 3.93 feet. The applicant is requesting relief to permit a 92.3 square meter, 994 square foot addition that was constructed 1 meter, 3.3 feet from the southerly lot line. The subject property is designated residential in the Town of Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential R2 in the Tecumseh zoning bylaw. The following comments were received from administration and agencies. Engineering. As part of the building permit process, the owner will be required to provide details on how runoff from the proposed building will be controlled to prevent it from flowing onto neighboring properties to the satisfaction of the chief building official. The building department, the downspouts should be connected to the municipal storm sewer at the owner's expense to prevent runoff from the addition onto the adjacent property, and that the rear yard drainage be installed. Since the distance is less than 4 feet, the Ontario Building Code will not allow any windows in the interior of the wall is required to have 5/8 type X drywall finish, 45-minute fire resistant rating. No comments from fire services. No objection from Essex Region Conservation Authority. And the applicant will need to call Hydro Services meter relocation. The existing service is an overhead feed where the service stack hydrometer are located on the back side of the existing house where the proposed addition is going. We also received public comments from the neighbor at 843 St. Pierre Street. He is concerned with fire separation from the 6-foot wooden pressure treated fence, concerned with respect to drainage as to whether eave troughs are proposed and whether there would be direct rainwater, concerned with whether there would be issue of home insurance, should something happen. And he would also assume the responsibility of trimming the trees due to the building being so close to his trees. And if those concerns were addressed, then he would not have any concerns with respect to the variance.
Okay. Thank you. Caitlin, at this point, as I've done in past applications, you get a chance to tell us anything that we need to know that the committee doesn't know about from reading your application.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and Donna did point out everything. The wall that is that we're doing the variance for is it's the side of the garage. So there's no windows. There's actually there'll be like a steel door. So there's nothing for the fire issues. We did do, the foundation is there already, and there was all the things for the drainage put in. So I mean, I think everything is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a minor thing with the building that it's off a little bit.
So let me ask you how this came about. You got a building permit?
Yep, I have a building permit.
And building department inspect that and
Yeah,
told
so
you-
when it was constructed off of the house, they based it from where the house was on the property. I didn't have a variance in the beginning. So when they started to put the block down, that was when it was brought to everybody's attention. So we did have a surveyor out. The property line was drawn. And so it's, I believe it's like 6 inches off of the 4 feet clearance.
Okay. I was wondering how that happened. Okay, good. Mr. D'Annunzio, we heard your concerns expressed by Donna. And you've heard some of the construction details. Does that help you any?
Yes. Yeah, that was but the biggest concern was the drainage, especially with the last few years with the flooding, because I've had the flooding in the backyard before. And then with the 100-year plan, flood plan thing too, that I was also involved in, I think I'm one of the low spots from all the houses here. So Kate's house and actually the other neighbor's house actually sit a little higher than my house. So I've added sand actually in the backyard to a lot of those areas. So that my biggest concern was where the downspouts were going to be.
Yeah, so I think I saw in the administration report, the engineering, that they want those to go into the storm sewer, so. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, because originally in this whole area, there is none. So that's what I had said to Donna. There was no, there's no actually drains in our backyards.
So you put sand in your backyard, you're building a beach?
No, just because it's all clay, right? So with the grass that's no longer a lot of my yard, I've added the sand in now.
Right, okay. Okay, any committee members have a question or a comment? Lori?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question actually just to administration on any position that this has put the town in, and if we can have maybe some light shed on what the implications are. For example, I mean, I feel like our hands are tied in terms of either having the applicant remove the foundation due to this circumstance that we found ourselves in, or to approve as is. What are the risks to the town if we were to ask for removal? I mean, I just feel like we're in a very gray area here.
Chad?
Through you, Mr. Chair. You're absolutely right. These are difficult ones when it's sort of an ask for forgiveness situation, but we still have to, assess these requests in the context of the 4 tests. And after reviewing the 4 tests, especially with the conditions that we're recommending, we are comfortable in saying that it meets the 4 tests. So I understand your concerns over this one and the position that the town's been put in, but the committee still has to view it as though it's something that's being asked for.
Further to that, thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. I'm glad to hear you say that. So for the record, and as a part of the written record, we do see that the application has gone through to the planning division under the leadership of Mr. Jeffrey, that it has, under the opinion of a registered professional planner, received a recommendation, save for further review tonight, a recommendation that the minor variance has met the 4 tests for a minor variance. So that's a great point to make, Mr. Jeffrey. And then as far as the concerns as laid out by Mr. D'Annunzio and the concerns as laid out from the agencies submitting their comments, I think holistically, I think that does put the town in a better position. Thank you for that.
Okay. Anybody else?
She's like digging for gold with that.
As far as insurance concerned, I think you need to talk to your insurance company, Mike. Okay. Seeing no, Chris?
Yeah, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, to administration. I just, the owner referenced a survey. Have we had any variation in the 3.3 feet, I think is what was in the application? Was that confirmed by this survey, or has that number changed at all or anything? I just want to confirm that that was the correct side.
Yeah,
side yard.
through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just going to share the screen and show you the survey that was submitted, which demonstrates that it's actually greater than the 3.3 feet that was made as part of the application. So the decision, Mr. Chair, by the committee, we are recommending it be tied to this survey, the 3.46 and 3.65 feet.
Okay.
Along with the conditions outlined in my planning report.
So good. That's a good question, Chris. Anything else? Seeing nobody. Paul, do you have something? No. Yep. Paul?
Yeah, I'd like to make through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this minor variance, because I do, in my opinion, it is minor. It is a minor application. And like 6 inches, obviously, this would be an expensive thing for her to correct, whether it be her fault or someone else's fault. 6 inches is a small thing, and ask for forgiveness is what she's probably doing. And I'd like to go ahead and, like Mr. Jeffrey suggests, that does meet the 4 tests. So I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve it.
Okay, so moved. Supported by Daniel. And so the motion will refer to, sorry, Chad?
I think you're headed where I was going, Mr. Chair. I'll let you finish, sorry.
The motion will refer to a variance as described on the survey that was submitted to the committee. And the conditions that are in the planning report will apply to it. Is that okay, Paul?
Yep, that's perfect. Yep.
And who said Daniel? Is that okay with you? You were the seconder? Okay. So on the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Caitlin and Mike, giving up your supper for us.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, committee. Where's my agenda? There are no deferrals. See, we do get them sometime. They're on the agenda. Planning report we've dealt with. Is there any unfinished business? You'd be pleased. Donna will be pleased to know that I sorted out my problems with OACA. I think I discovered why it was like it was, but I'm not going to tell you because it was half my fault. But I did sign up for it. Is everyone signed up or not? Anybody not signed up?
Do you mean for membership or for the conference?
No, for the conference.
I did not sign up.
Okay.
No, I
Are
didn't
you
either.
going to?
Yeah.
Are you going to? No. Lori, are you going to?
I've considered it and I will not attend this
Okay.
year.
I'm just, you said you didn't, but didn't say you wouldn't. So,
Both.
okay. Tom?
I need to look at the dates. It's kind of slipped my mind here with everything else going on.
I didn't even look at the dates. Tony?
I haven't looked at the dates either.
So
believe
I'm
it's
just trying to
June
see if
8th
Donna's
and
still on the hook,
8th and 9th.
watching for you or not. That's all. So,
Still watching for him.
okay. You did get my email, right?
I did get your email.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other unfinished business? Seeing nothing. Is there any new business? Seeing nothing. Is there someone who would want to move adjournment? Oh, nobody. Oh, Paul and Tom. Tony, what happened?
I just figured we wanted to stay here all night.
Oh, okay. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Night.